The idea of World War III happening now is even more dead than it was yesterday. By 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, Iran will begin the ceasefire. Within 12 hours, Iran's opponent will also commence. And if that ceasefire can be maintained for a mere 24 hours, then the conflict between the two countries would end. So even though Iran has just launched more missiles at their opponent, and their opponent has been destroying the capital of Tehran, apparently more than they have in the past 12 days, they are both holding to it right now. And this ceasefire was pushed down the throats of both warring parties by America's president, signifying they want nothing else to do with this war. I would read his speech, at least his tweet. And even before the ceasefire agreement was mentioned, China warned Iran not to carry out their threat of closing the Strait of Hormuz because China heavily relies on Iran for that oil. And the bigger question in all of our minds is, which country is most likely to break this ceasefire first? But an even better pointed question is, which country will stick to the ceasefire the longest? A lot of panic was spread when Iran decided to attack a US base in Qatar, and everyone said, well, this is an escalation. Here comes more war, especially for the United States. But Iran informed both Qatar and the US that this attack was coming about 4 days ago. So that base and the entire area was cleared out of military and civilian personnel. So Iran attacked an empty base with ballistic missiles. But according to the Qatar government, not one of those ballistic missiles made it to the US base because they were all intercepted by the US Patriot system. And this was built on a model from the 1980s, but of course it was given the most modern upgrades from 2005 to 2010. Once again, this is a huge advertisement for the US defense industry at the expense of Russia, because their closest model to the Patriot is the S-400, which failed to do its job in Syria against Iran's opponent fighter jets. Iran went through with this because they wanted to make a symbolic strike against US military infrastructure, which means they do not want to escalate tensions with America. While Iran made a symbolic strike against the US military, their opponent made strikes against the Iranian riot police. They also destroyed Iran's doomsday clock, showing the countdown to their opponent's total destruction, along with more IRGC facilities, state TV networks, and the notorious Evin prison. According to open source intel, this is the aftermath of Iran's opponent attack on the IRGC main headquarters today. In my opinion, what this means is that Iran has wanted a ceasefire for quite some time. They have been looking for an out, they were offered one, and they're deciding to finally take it because they cannot sustain this kind of damage anymore. And Iran's opponent did not agree to a ceasefire until hours after Iran did, because Iran's opponent kept destroying more military infrastructure, yet Iran was still willing to hold to this deal. And that right there tells you who had the clear advantage in this war. Let me give you a hint, it was not Iran. I've heard people say that Iran was practicing restraint because they were about to unleash their deadly K-Bar-Shekan hypersonic missile, which could go 13 to 14 times the speed of sound. Except there has been no independent confirmation from any other open source intel stating that this missile could actually pull off what Iran advertised. Now, it's possible to put a rocket on something and make it go 13 to 14 times the speed of sound, but its accuracy gets completely thrown off. Because if anyone paid attention to how hypersonics work, it would be difficult for any hypersonic to hit a US aircraft carrier that was traveling at full speed because of the lack of accuracy for higher speed. Also, remember, when it comes to war, you don't practice restraint against an enemy that has the capacity to destroy your entire military infrastructure. Just a little food for thought. But at the conclusion of this post, I want to share you something that gave me pause, and it is once again the price of oil, which crashed down from $75 a barrel all the way down to 66. It even hit 64 at some point, which crashed down even before anybody knew about this agreed upon ceasefire. Almost like This was timed into the market. For those of you who don't know why it's important, usually when a very oil-rich country like Iran gets attacked, the price of oil shoots up because people are afraid of oil shortages. When it comes back down like this, it means the market isn't worried. The market thinks that there's going to be plenty of a supply, maybe even too much of a supply. So there we have it, guys. The news went from saying, are we going to have World War III, to now, potentially, back to the same old boring. I am the Geo Husar. Let's pray for a peaceful 36 hours. Thanks for watching.